Hello RedCaseStory listeners, welcome back to our channel, your home for true crime stories that really happened around the world. We hope you're all safe, well, and always kept far from harm. Today, we take you to the heart of Glasgow, Scotland, to explore the life and tragic death of a young, kind, and ambitious student, Angelika Kluk. What started as an innocent summer trip turned into a horrifying nightmare. A murder that shook a nation, a hidden predator with a chilling past, and a church that became the stage of a dark secret. This is the story of the murder of Angelika Kluk. Angelika Kluk was just 23 years old when she left her home in Poland for a summer adventure in Scotland. She wasn't just another tourist. She was a brilliant language student from Gdansk, studying Swedish and English literature. Driven, intelligent, and deeply faithful, Angelika was known for her soft voice, radiant smile, and a kind spirit that left a mark on everyone she met. During the summer of 2005, Angelika decided to spend time in Glasgow to improve her English and explore the world. She found a safe and welcoming place to stay, St. Patrick's Church in Anderston, where she volunteered as a cleaner in exchange for accommodation. The church was quiet, sacred, a sanctuary that should have been safe, but behind those thick stone walls, something dark was lurking, something that Angelika, sadly, didn't see coming. St. Patrick's Church wasn't just a place of worship. It was also home to Father Jerry Nugent, a man known for his eccentricity, his soft-spoken manner, and his unconventional ways. Father Nugent often allowed troubled souls and transient people to stay in the church flats. Some viewed it as compassion, others as recklessness. Angelika, however, felt grateful. She cleaned the church regularly, attended Mass, and even helped translate Polish religious texts for the congregation. To most, she was just a sweet and quiet girl who loved her faith. But to Father Nugent, she seemed to mean more. Witnesses would later reveal an oddly close bond between them, one that didn't go unnoticed, but the real danger didn't come from the priest. At least, not directly. Unbeknownst to Angelika, someone else was also living on the church grounds. A man who had taken a false name. Someone who had no place being there. A man who would eventually bring her young life to a brutal end. The man who called himself Pat McLaughlin was quiet, polite, and helpful. He kept to himself, offered to do odd jobs around the church, and rarely caused trouble. But Pat McLaughlin wasn't real. He was actually Peter Tobin, a convicted sex offender with a violent past. A drifter. A predator who had spent years hiding in plain sight. By the time he met Angelika, Tobin was already 60 years old. And dangerous. He had a long criminal history, abductions, assaults, rape charges, spanning decades. He had served time, but always seemed to slip through the cracks of the system. Using fake names, changing locations, always finding a way to blend in, and now, here he was. Living in a church. In the same building as a vulnerable young woman who trusted too easily. On September 24, 2006, Angelika was last seen alive. That day, she had helped clean the church, spoken briefly with Father Nugent, and was later spotted around the churchyard. Then, nothing, no messages. No phone calls. No one had seen her. Her phone went unanswered. Her room was empty. At first, Father Nugent dismissed her disappearance. He suggested she might have gone to meet friends or had decided to return to Poland. But Angelika's sister Aneta, back in Poland, grew deeply worried. She knew her sister wouldn't just vanish without a word. A missing persons report was filed, and then the lies began. Police quickly arrived at the church. They searched her room. Nothing looked disturbed. They questioned Father Nugent, who was strangely evasive, giving conflicting answers about Angelika's whereabouts. He said she might have left voluntarily. Or maybe she was angry. Maybe she just disappeared, but something didn't feel right, and then came the bombshell.
As officers expanded their search, they came across a concealed hatch hidden beneath the church's wooden floorboards. When they opened it, a foul odor escaped. The hatch led to a small, dark chamber beneath the confessional room. There, wrapped in a plastic tarp and covered in blood, was the body of Angelika Kluk. She had been bludgeoned, sexually assaulted, and stabbed multiple times. The peaceful sanctuary had become her tomb. The man known as McLaughlin was suddenly gone, vanished. Disappeared just as the police found Angelika's body. His real identity, Peter Tobin, was uncovered when DNA and fingerprints at the scene matched those from his past convictions. A nationwide manhunt began. Tobin had fled, but not far. He was eventually arrested in Kent, England, after collapsing from illness at a hospital. Another temporary identity, another lie, but this time, he wouldn't escape. After his arrest in Kent, Peter Tobin was transported back to Scotland to face charges for the brutal murder of Angelika Kluk. He showed little emotion. His trial began in March 2007 at the High Court in Edinburgh, and the evidence against him was overwhelming. DNA samples taken from Angelika's body, the crime scene, and the murder weapon, a knife found hidden near the hatch, all pointed directly to Tobin. But the horror didn't stop there. It was revealed in court that Angelika had been alive when Tobin bound her with duct tape and forced her into the church's hidden chamber. She had been beaten, sexually assaulted, and stabbed repeatedly before being left to die alone in the dark. Prosecutors painted Tobin as a manipulative, remorseless predator who had targeted Angelika because she was young, vulnerable, and trusting. The jury didn't need much time. On May 4, 2007, Peter Tobin was found guilty of rape and murder and sentenced to life imprisonment, with a minimum of 21 years. But even then, the truth was still unraveling. Angelika, tragically, was only the beginning. While justice had been served, the pain for Angelika's family was only beginning. Her sister Aneta spoke during press interviews about the deep loss felt back in Poland. Her parents, once so proud of their daughter's dreams to explore the world, now faced the unimaginable task of bringing her home in a coffin. The Polish community in Scotland organized candlelight vigils. Later that year, Father Nugent died suddenly. Alone. Some say from illness. Others, from a broken heart. St. Patrick's Church closed its doors temporarily, unable to shake the darkness that had entered its sacred halls. Angelika's murder led police to dig deeper into Peter Tobin's past, and what they found was horrifying. Scotland Yard launched Operation Anagram, a multi-year investigation to trace Tobin's movements across the UK over decades. They discovered he had lived under dozens of aliases, moved constantly, and was often linked to places where young women had vanished. Soon, two more names emerged. Vicky Hamilton, a 15-year-old schoolgirl who vanished in 1991 in West Lothian. Dinah McNichol, an 18-year-old hitchhiker who disappeared the same year in Essex. In 2007, both girls' remains were found, buried in the garden of Tobin's former home in Margate, Kent. Tobin had poured concrete over their shallow graves. The similarities between the murders, sexual assault, body concealment, manipulation, were undeniable. Tobin was more than a killer. He was a serial predator, hiding in plain sight for decades. Peter Tobin was born in 1946 in Scotland. He had a deeply troubled youth, with early signs of violence and deviance. He served multiple jail sentences throughout his life, especially for sexual offenses. Tobin had 3 ex-wives, all of whom later testified to his controlling, violent behavior. They described him as charming when sober but a monster when angry. He would often disappear for days, lie, steal, and possibly kill. Experts believe Tobin may have killed many more victims than those officially confirmed. Some speculate he may be responsible for as many as 20 to 30 unsolved disappearances across the UK, yet he never confessed. He refused interviews, denied involvement, and showed no remorse. In prison, he was violent toward staff. He faked illness, and eventually, his health declined. Angelika Kluk's murder became a painful symbol in the UK, a story that shook public trust, especially in religious institutions. Her life was cut short far too early. She had dreams, talents, and so much left to give, but in her death, she uncovered the horrific truth of a predator who had gone unnoticed for decades. Because of Angelika's case, Operation Anagram helped solve at least 2 cold cases and likely prevented further crimes. Her legacy is one of justice. She will be remembered not just as a victim, but as the reason many others finally found their voice. Thank you for watching Red Case Story. Angelika Kluk's story reminds us that even the most sacred places can hide unspeakable darkness, and that evil often wears a friendly face. If this story moved you, please share it, subscribe to the channel, and let us know your thoughts in the comments. Whose story should we tell next? Until then, stay safe, stay alert, and never stop seeking the truth. Good night.